All right, everybody. I know it has been a while, um, but with all the snow, it's given me a chance to catch up on some things. And I know Unit 5 Session 2 has been the lesson for about 3 weeks now, and we haven't been able to get to it. But anyways, if we don't get hit by another big system this weekend, hopefully we'll have normal services on Sunday. I don't know yet, but anyways, whenever we teach Unit 5 Session 2, hopefully this is a help to you as we're talking through the law. So we're at this point in Exodus where we've seen the miracles, we've seen him, or we've seen the Israelites walk out of Egypt and come to Mount Sinai, which is the place where Moses even began this to feel this call to go back. And we see the giving of the law here. A very important passage, a very important passage in the Bible. I was going to say in the book of Exodus, but it's really in the whole Bible is a very important passage. But for really what God's law shows us, and that's really what your lesson is all about. I think the points that they give are fantastic, and so I just want to touch on those as we go through. So the first one is that God's law shows us how to live free. Um, I think sometimes when we hear the word law, we think restrictive, and we think that God's law is something that is the same way, right? Um, that keeps us from doing what we want to do. I think our pastor puts it best when he talks about when there's a command given in the Bible to not do something. It's God saying, "Don't hurt yourself," or "Don't set yourself up for something bad." And when He says to do something, it's that's how you live this life the best. That's how you walk with Jesus. And so, because even if let's just say we threw those laws out and we just lived based off instinct and what we wanted to do, right? We would think that that's freedom, but it would actually enslave us to those addictions, to those inclinations. And so God's law is not restrictive. It's not. It doesn't. It doesn't tighten God's grip on us. I think what it does is it shows us how to truly live free. And so the second thing would be that we see here is that God's law shows us how to love Him. All right, and so we see these in the commandments, and the commandments are kind of like commandments that relate directly to God, and then commandments relate directly to other people. And so God's law shows us how to love Him. And that's important, right? It's important to know that when we honor Him and when we when we put Him first, when we choose to glorify Him and not other things, that's how we honor God. That's how we love Him, right? And then the third point is that God's law shows us how to love people. And that's when you see all these commandments like don't murder, don't covet, don't commit adultery, don't lie. All these types of commandments, they're about how we relate to other people. Honor your father and mother. Those type of commandments is what we see. And so this whole lesson, is really about, I feel like, the freeing nature of the law of God, right? And how it finally shows us how to live this life the best. And you got to think about this in the context of Israel. At this point, they were a nation in captivity. They really had no law. They had no lawgiver, right? And this is the first giving of the law. And then there's tons of other commands that come with that. A lot of those being cultural and circumstantial laws, but these laws that are given here, man, they're really freeing, and they show us how to live this life the best. And I know this is going to come up, and so I want to just kind of help you give an answer to this. Is a lot of times people ask, well, how much do these laws apply to us today? Um, I mean, how do they apply to us? And I would say very much so they do. They definitely apply to us today, and this is why. Jesus, he said, believe it's Matthew 5. He says, "I did not come to abolish the law, but I came to fulfill the law." In other words, he lived this law to perfection. Right? He never sinned. He was 100%, and never got one wrong. Right? And so in doing that, he was able to be that perfect sacrifice for us on the cross, so that he would actually appease God and this holy standard that he has. And so now our standard isn't how many laws have we kept, or how many laws have we not kept, but it's who kept it the best, right? Who kept it to perfection? It was Jesus. And now his blood is sacrificed that is poured over us, makes us right before God. Now the standard is what Jesus did, not what we do, right? And so these laws are still good for us, and we should obey them, right? These 10 commandments, we should obey them. But what this means now is that if we break one of them, it doesn't mean we lose our salvation with God. It doesn't mean we lose getting to spend eternity with Him, because someone did it perfectly, and His name was Jesus Christ, and He died on a cross for you and for me. And so these laws for us now are more like ways to live, and these ways to live in a free manner. Um, but inevitably, as sinners, we're going to break them at times. And because Jesus didn't break one of them, and He was our perfect sacrifice, He's paid the penalty for our sin for that. So I hope that helps you kind of clear up that question. And hopefully you guys can teach this Sunday, because if you don't, it'll be the lesson for next week. So I'm sure you'll be able to prepare a lot. So anyways, have a great week, guys. Thank you so much for what you do.